What's going on, everyone? Welcome along to Arsenal Fan TV. I'm left leaving this game with quite a lot of mixed emotions, but I think we can regard that today's performance has by far been Arsenal's best display that we've seen so far this season. Some really good positives to take from today, and overall I'm really happy with how the team performed. But nonetheless, I think given the way we played, we should have merited 3 points today, and I am a bit disappointed that we haven't come away with the victory. But 1 point at home against the champions, a lot of positives to take from that. The likes of Jack Wilshere today were absolutely exceptional. We saw the debut of Danny Welbeck, and we can only really move forward from here. I think if we regard today as the start of our season and we can push on, put in more performances like this, I think we're going to have a really exciting and prosperous season. But regarding today's performance, we saw a slightly mismatched team. We saw Monreal start at left back again. Considering Kieran Gibbs was back in the side, I was a bit surprised by this inclusion, but Monreal arguably has merited to start in the team considering how he's played against the likes of Leicester and Everton away, and I thought he did an okay job today. I certainly would feel a bit more assured of Kieran Gibbs in the team, but looking at our bench today, I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. You've got to remember we didn't even have the likes of Joel Campbell, Sonogo or Rosicky on that bench yet. We could boast players like Gibbs, Chambers, and of course players like Santi Cazorla. So it was excellent to have that squad depth today, but then again we do have some frailties in defence, as we saw when the likes of Mathieu Debuchy came off, which what looked like a fairly serious injury, but hopefully he'll recover from that fairly quickly. And of course we've got Callum Chambers back in the team now, which does look like he's going to be playing a big part for us in the time that Mathieu Debuchy will be out of the team. But regarding like I was saying, the Arsenal team lineup today, we also saw Santi Cazorla drop from the team, and we saw Wilshere reverted back into the starting lineup. Wilshere, I don't need to tell you how good he was today. Arsenal's man of the match by quite a long distance if it wasn't for Alexis Sanchez. But I thought Wilshere setting up the goal and also scoring that absolutely cracking goal, absolutely world class day. Wilshere was on another level, cut above every other player, and if he can put in that performance consistently, because that's the kind of performance he was given against Barcelona a couple of seasons ago, if he can do that on a regular basis, that is going to be absolutely outstanding for both him, the club, and everyone around it. And players like Aaron Ramsey are going to work really well alongside Jack Wilshere. Ramsey was another one today who didn't have the best of performances. Ramsey's got to step up because he hasn't been putting in any good shifts as of late. He's been scoring goals, but he's not been putting in good performances. His passing and link-up play has quite frankly been pretty poor, and he's got to up his game. City, of course, were without Yaya Toure for this one. They introduced Frank Lampard, who did an okay job for them in midfield, but again, he was getting outshone by the likes of Jack Wilshere and even his own players at times like Fernandinho, who were absolutely taking Lampard for a ride. He couldn't keep up with the pace of the game at times. But regarding putting the lineups on one side, the way this game started, for Arsenal especially, was outstanding. Like I said, one of the best performances Arsenal have put in this season. And those first 20 minutes, we absolutely blitzed Manchester City, and we should have scored fairly early on with Danny Welbeck, who was very unlucky to only hit the post. But Danny Welbeck today, again, exceptional. Another player that can really bring something to our lineup. He went off fairly late on with what looked like a hamstring injury, something like that. I'm hoping he's going to be okay. It didn't look too serious. He was able to jog off the pitch, so hopefully he'll be alright for Dortmund in midweek. But he was phenomenal today. His link-up play, the players around him, he slotted into our system perfectly, like we all presumed he would, and he played some quality football, and he probably should have scored in hindsight. He came very close to scoring. He's full of energy, pace and strength above all others. He is an absolutely quality player to have in our side, and it really looks like he's going to flourish in our team. But those first 20 minutes, I thought Arsenal were fantastic, and to concede in midway through the first half, incredibly unfortunate for Arsenal. In fact, he was so against the run of play, I couldn't quite believe it. Navas was very lucky to have the ball at his feet. I think the ball to him came from a deflection, fell to Navas, ran through, played it into Aguero, who from 5 yards out, quite frankly, wasn't going to miss. And we were 1-0 down, and that goal came totally against the run of play, and then we were playing catch-up from there. But I thought Arsenal responded really well. I'm saying that we were a bit lacklustre for about 10-15 minutes, and we didn't really show our charisma until the start of the second half, when again we had a really good start, played some really good football, and we did get back into the game through Jack Wilshere, who arguably was man of the match today by quite a long distance. Excellent goal from him, taking it past his man as well, and the dink to get it over Joe Hart was incredible. The work he had to do, first of all to get it past his man, but then to finish it off. Incredible play by Jack Wilshere today to get us back in the game at 1-0, and then Alexis Sanchez shortly after. Jack Wilshere with the assist, that header that he worked so hard for, to play it into Alexis Sanchez, who volleyed it past Joe Hart. Incredible goal there. And then You know, the really deflating goal that we conceded from Demichelis, really poor goal to concede. Free man, Demichelis, why wasn't he being marked properly? And then it was a bit of confusion about the goal. I didn't really get the best of views of it from the clock end, but it looked like Demichelis headed it, Szczesny tried to save it, and then it went past Flamini. In respect, maybe if Szczesny hadn't touched it, it might have been blocked off by Flamini, but that remains to be seen. I've got to watch the highlights again, but I think 2-2 at the end of the day probably is a fair result. Both sides can say that they deserve to win it in the end. Arsenal had a good chance at the end. City had about 2-3 good chances to win it in the end, and maybe we were quite fortunate to be actually coming away with a point. But I think our performance today was incredibly good. And if we can bring these kind of results and performances, well, not results, but performances into future games, and I think we're going to have a really prosperous and really good season. It does look exciting. Let's just say our season starts here and hopefully we can push on from this. But I think there were quite a few frailties in the side. Mathieu Flamini, he frustrates me so much at times, but just the way he drops in between the two centre halves and leaves us so exposed in the middle of the park. I thought he was so guilty of that today. And the way he just falls to his knees, slips over at times. He does a lot of shouting and pointing at players, but he can't even hold his own position at times. He's got to really address himself, have a look at himself, and really, I'm really hoping he can push on from there, because he was a fan favourite last season, and hopefully he can bring that into his current game and really push on from where he needs to be. Mikel Arteta, we've got him back in the team now. I'd love to see him deputised in that game against Dortmund, because I think he's a much better player than Flamini, and a much more composed player at that. And hopefully we can bring Gibbs into the team, who will provide some reassuring cover for Monreal. But our team looks fairly good at the moment, apart from a couple of defensive problems. Like I said, Debuchy went off, which looks like what looks like a pretty bad injury, but hopefully he'll be able to work his way through that. One player that was on everyone's lips today, Mesut Ozil, being in the heart of a lot of criticism, but I refuse to criticise the guy when he's being played on the left wing. I don't think he had a good performance today, I've got to be brutally honest. But then again, he's a 42.5 million quid player that's being played out on the left flank. It's ridiculous. Why is he being played there? Why would you spend that money on a player only to play him wide? And then it brings into question, why didn't we buy Fabregas in summer if Ozil was going to be played out wide? A lot of this doesn't make sense, but I think a lot of it revolves around Walcott coming back into the side, when we'll see Sanchez and Walcott reverted on the wings with what could be a Ramsey and Ozil pivot in the middle of the park, which is an exciting prospect to that. But Ozil has to step up his game. I know he didn't play well on the wing today, but a world-class player should be able to perform in any position of the pitch, and hopefully he can. He wasn't awful today, but then again, he wasn't great either. I'm just hoping that he can really up his game, because he's someone that every single Arsenal fan wants to do well. The expectation on him is massive, and the pressure on his shoulders is huge. But like I said, hopefully he can improve from here. It's his second season. It is very early in the season. I wouldn't pay too much attention to the table at the moment. We are 6 points behind Chelsea, but then again, football can change very, very, very quickly. We are only in September. Long way to go. But if we can, like I said, if we can keep putting in these performances, then it's going to be a really exciting season for us. Anyway guys, those have been my thoughts on Arsenal's fixture with Manchester City. If you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like, rating, subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV, as well as my own channel AFC Game by Game. As always, thank you very much for watching guys.